Hey, everybody. Thank you, all of you, for staying until the end so far. I think it's been a wonderful conference. Again, wanted to give special thanks to the Honorable Bernard Chan, Tan Sri Jeffrey Cha, Tunku Asmil, Daniel Budiman, Kylie Ung, Danny Young, Roland Ross, and Rexy Dorado. Again, a very special thank you for all of them speaking at our event. And now, last but not least, we have Eric Cheng, someone who I've known now for almost 6 years. And when we think about the next generation of great entrepreneurs that are coming out of Southeast Asia, Eric is someone you just have to put on your radar screen. So this session is really a preview, kind of the emerging next generation of unicorns from Southeast Asia. So we're absolutely delighted that Eric could join us here this afternoon. Eric, before we start, I just wanted you maybe if you could give the audience a sense of your background as an entrepreneur and kind of some of the things you did before you started Carsome.
Thanks, Tom, for that kind introduction. In fact, I think for the past 6 years, you've been really supportive towards the growth of Carsome. But in the very beginning, I was born and raised as Malaysian. I never really been out of KL until I started Carsome, right? And I spent a lot of my time in playing games, mostly in the early days. But I think what was more important is I got my first job in the advertising industry in a company called NET, who was at the forefront of digital advertising. So that's first got me into everything about tech. And I think from there on, things become really interesting, where I was constantly trying to explore new things with the company, proposing to new clients on the brand campaigns, on the way they execute stuff. And in between that 8 years that I started my job with them until Carsome, I actually started 2 more ventures. So that entrepreneurial spirit has always been in me, that's trying to find a breakthrough, design a solution against pain points that I saw in the market. And I think when in 2015, I started Carsome, during that time, me and my colleague, we were talking about, in the used car industry, it was actually so hard to sell a car. You don't have a standard procedure way for you to sell a car, and everyone is having headache. We don't have the transparency, and you don't even get to know like what kind of car price or car condition when it comes to selling it, right? Or who to sell to. So I thought, this would be interesting for us to come in to deliver a solution. And then that's how we created Carsome in 2015. And I think that journey was really interesting, because from that point onward, me and my co-founder, who was my ex-colleague back then, we started from KL. We further expanded the business into Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore. We're active in like 4 countries within Southeast Asia, and now definitely is by far the largest used car trading platform with a wide margin in this region. And with 6 years into the business, we are still excited, still want to build a business to be a lot larger, because we are currently only at about 1.5% of the market. So there's still a lot more room for us to grow with new products coming in very soon.
And Eric, give our audience a sense now of Carsome's scale. How many countries are we operating in? How many outlets do we have? And just the number of transactions, so people can appreciate kind of how Carsome has grown over the years.
So we started in Malaysia, right? And we expanded into 3 more countries within Southeast Asia. That's Indonesia, Thailand, and Singapore. So presently with these 4 countries, we transact about 6,000 cars on the monthly basis. And that's equivalent to about 50 million transacted value in US dollar. And which is, is a huge amount, because I think when you look at the market, that is, not just representing 1.5% of the market, but it represents a long growth runway for the business as we continue to expand. We've been able to grow from 3x almost every other year since we've been in the business. And we are also active in about 50 overseas with about 10,000 dealers that's within our network on a daily basis, coming onto the auction to make a purchase of the cars.
Eric, people have said that you're really one of the entrepreneurs who's kind of helping reimagine, the second-hand car experience, right, in Southeast Asia. What were the pain points that you saw, kind of before Carsome, and what are you trying to accomplish?
I think when you look at the Southeast Asian market, it's unlike the one that you saw in the US, right? Where there's probably names that you can recall like CarMax, AutoNation, who you could just you can ensure that there's a really good experience out of it, right? And how to sell a car. And even when it comes to checking a car price or car condition, you have companies like Kelly Blue Book or even Carfax, right? As a platform that you can just simply type in the VIN number and get the service record. None of this exists in Southeast Asia. And it's almost like when we first started in 2015, it's a blank page where the entire used car ecosystem is so fragmented that there's only used car dealers that are operating under a tent. So I think that data experience when it comes to buying and selling cars extend towards bad reputations, and a lot of distrust towards how people would think of, selling a car to a used car dealer would result into getting lowball offer or even exposed to scam, right? And I think that lack of transparency is sort of gave us the idea to create a systematic approach when it comes to delivering a service that can instill that trust, that the peace of mind to you. If you want to sell a car, we want to help you sell and make sure that you get a right price. And not just that, we are able to provide an inspection service and sell to any buyers within the countries, right? Not just within the 20 km radius of your city. I think, Tom, you've been one of our person who sold a car to us. You experienced the full end-to-end solution. You will probably be able to
satisfied customer. I might add. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So I think that was one of our a bigger vision, right? That we want to change the way how people sell a car in the industry or in the market. And now, interestingly, we are also extending that into a car buying experience. We want to provide a differentiated experience, one that you can enjoy and one that you are allowed to get really good quality used cars and able to get it in a way that none other used car dealers in the market is able to provide to you. So I think that has been one of the reason why we started Carsome. The pain points in the market is that's just so fragmented and there's just so many things that we can fix to make it a lot more pleasant.
And so Eric, you talked about this. You can now sell your car, right, via the Carsome network, right? And you mentioned how many countries you're in. How many countries are we in now? We're in 4.
So in 4 countries in Southeast Asia, and that represent about 80% of the used car population in the market. And hence our focus has been always to really get into penetrations, right, of these 4 countries.
And it's not only those 4 countries, but the amount of points of presence that Carsome has now. How has that grown? How many locations do you have?
Yeah, we have a lot of locations, right? But I think in terms of city coverage, we currently cover about 50 over cities in all the countries that we're in. So I think that is going to be close to double by end of this year. And then especially with our car buying service right now, one of the things that we want to do is to expand further into more cities that we have not gone into yet. So I think this year will be exciting for us on expansion side of things.
So you're going to increase to 100 cities by end of 2021 is what you're projecting. Wow. And will people be able not only sell their cars, right? But now you're going into kind of the B2C business. Is this going to be available in all 100 locations or it's going to catch up?
So we have a lot of touch points, right? Which is the inspection centers. That's where you bring in the car to sell because we need to run an inspection. But some of these centers right now also equip the capability of buying a car or being able to pick up the car that you bought from these centers. But moreover, the way we try to envision the platform on especially car buying is to bring an experience that is more similar to e-commerce, like how you're buying things from Shopee, from Tokopedia. And you have seen players like Carvana, Kazoo, Vroom in the US and the UK markets are doing very well in that. So I think for us, we apply an omni-channel strategy, which you could also come to the centers to browse for cars, go for a test drive, while you can come to the platform, the website, to view the car on a 360 virtual tour, look at the car imperfections through the inspection report. I think more importantly is that if you are comfortable, you say, look, this is the car that I want to buy. You can make a booking online. We go through the process, and the next time you see the car, we deliver it to your doorstep with a truck. So that's the entire idea, right? That we want to give you the assurance that the car that you see online is exactly what it is, and it comes with the warranty assurance, the trust, and the convenience, right, of getting the car to your doorstep, just like how you're receiving stuff from e-commerce platform.
And when you say these trucks, I mean, these are like big delivery trucks that haul like a car to your doorstep. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's so you buy a car and then the car just shows up at your doorstep. Carsome's delivering that car.
Yep. So it's a very nice truck. Looks like almost like a cruiser. We are not just sending cars to the customers, but at the same time, people on the road would say, "Hey, look at this car. It's like so interesting because usually this would be where a tow truck. It looks like a tow truck. You thought it's a tow truck, but rather instead of that, we are delivering a car to a customer."
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. And Eric, how do you see the business now for Carsome kind of developing, right? You went from kind of consumer to dealer. Now you're also going B2C. Kind of what's next to kind of, are there still gaps in that user experience that Carsome's trying to fill?
Yeah, so I think fundamentally, if you look at the used car market itself, it lacks the infrastructure, right? So the first thing that we've gone on to solve is to really instill the transparency by having really strong understanding on the car condition and the car pricing, bridging the gap through supply and demand. And I think that's what established the first step of instilling that innovations right within the segment. And now we are seeing that further extend into part of the ecosystem like financing, insurance, after sales, because a lot of this come hand in hand in the whole car trading ecosystem. Or rather now it has further become like a car ownership ecosystem, right? Where every part of the ownership journey, we are trying to come in to see how we can help you to do better. And I think that's the goal of the business, right? Where, within the market itself, there's so many areas that we're still able to penetrate. There's a lot of growth in only the things that we're doing right now as a core business, but there's a lot of other areas that we could further innovate, right? And that's where we are getting to right now, by able to create applications that not just allow you to buy and sell, but further adding on this service one by one into the product.
Eric, walk us back now. I mean, Carsome's kind of a well-known brand name across now Southeast Asia, but walk us back, right? 2015, I remember when I first met you, let's take the audience back like 6 years ago, right? You were operating out of Kelana Jaya. Carsome was still very small. What were the challenges? I mean, tell us the scale you were at then. I mean, you were selling how many cars? You're doing 6,000 a month now, but back then you were doing how many?
So I remember, I think the first time I met you, I probably was only selling about less than 100 cars in the first month. And it was interesting because I think you are also one of the very first few investors that I met in my journey, and especially in 2015, the team is still small. There's only less than 20 of us. We are trying to figure out how to find a product market fit and further think about expansion, right? So I think we got a lot of help from a lot of investors, but I think Gobi stand out really well and especially yourself, right? Being the board member, guiding us along the way to where we are right now at almost each and every step. I think these are the things that got really interesting for us. And for myself, like, especially, coming from, Malaysia, where Carsome is like the first regional business, every other step has been a learning journey for me.
And so you 20 people, how many people does Carsome have today now?
Well, now we have about 1,000 plus across all the countries and even the tech hub in Beijing. Yeah.
Wow. So Eric, I guess you're 2015, we had just met. What was the biggest challenge? I mean, maybe some advice for entrepreneurs just starting off. Now, at that time,
Yep.
What was the environment like in Southeast Asia? And what was your biggest challenge? Was it just convincing people, I mean, to give you money, or selling them on the Southeast Asia story, or Carsome itself, or your credibility as an entrepreneur? Or was it a combination of all of the above?
So if I think back, right, I think one of the most interesting thing is, we are a team where we are really ambitious and trying to scale a business into a regional leader. So that hasn't changed, right? And that has been actually embedded in us since day one. And I think along the way, one of the more interesting thing is, in the beginning, there's no track record coming from me. I have not really started anything successful before, a serial entrepreneur, but mostly the fail one. And this is the first that really got to where we are right now. And I think for early investors like you to come in to help us, that was extremely important, because fundraising was not and an easy task to do, right, in the Southeast Asia scene. And especially you're operating in multiple countries, scaling is always a problem. Every market it seems similar, but it's always different, right? So, and a lot of localization challenges that you would see when you're expanding, when you're scaling. And I think that's where strategic investors will be very helpful, right? And I think I'm fortunate to have a lot of really good investors on our cap table who understand, what it means to build a regional platform that can, bring the product to more areas so that we could at the same time not just help a lot more customers and bring a good experience, but as a business also we make money, right? So I think that's where the values, extend to from investors to the business owners and all.
And Eric, you pretty much had a kind of a smooth scaling process, but there was a point I remember where you kind of hit a little bit of a challenge, right? I mean, tell us maybe, look, we always celebrate the successes of entrepreneurs, but maybe share some of the, what was one of the low points at Carsome and the challenge you faced, and how did you get out of that?
Yeah. But I think you remember very well, so we went through the crisis together and it seems like on the front, business has been always scaling up, growing 2x, 3x every year, right? But in between that, there's a lot of challenges, a lot of paths or scenarios could happen. And I think it was at this kind of time, right, where you truly appreciate the help from, everyone, especially from the board members, the investors, the internal team, the leadership as well. And for me, I always take it as a learning journey, right? Because we sort of look at it as every other year is a graduation, right? You go from the grade 1, the next year is grade 2, because every other year to scale, you do different things. The requirements is a lot higher. And I think behind that is how we can form a team to do that. And if you look back 12 months ago and right now, the leadership team in Carsome has changed quite a lot. We have evolved into a team that's not just bigger, but the bench power is a lot stronger. And I think that's where it's important, right? That we have that kind of synergy and chemistry in the team to bring the business forward. It's not just myself, but a team of people who's able to contribute to that greater goal.
Eric, tell me, I know there was an important part of your journey where you got involved with Endeavor Malaysia.
Yeah.
That was I believe, I remember now that was a sort of a crucial turning point in Carsome's journey. Can you tell the audience about that? First of all, who is Endeavor Malaysia? I think most people know who they are, but maybe for those who don't, a little bit about Endeavor Malaysia, and then, kind of your meeting interaction with them, and then how did that affect Carsome going forward?
So I got to know Endeavor back in 2017, and Endeavor as a network of entrepreneurs who really truly appreciate pay it forward mentality. And they are a network of people who has been there, done that, at the same time trying to bring new age entrepreneurs to come in and help them scale. And I think I was really fortunate to be in touch with an organization like this, because I think we were also at a time where we try to scale the company. And to do that, right, you need to kind of learn from the best and share a lot of best practices to people and entrepreneurs around the world. So I think from 2017, going past to the local selection panel to in about 2019, I got to the ISP level international selection. I met a lot of really great entrepreneurs and even people who were very substantial, right? Like, for example, Nick Nash was one of my panelists out of the 4 panelists that I got into, and gave us a lot of valuable advices and how to really scale in between the Southeast Asia. And he himself has done it with C Group before, and one of the examples, right? So I think that widen up the experience, the exposure that we could get, and then from there we can benefit the business and further bring it to a larger scale. So and I think, as everyone would know by now as well, last year Asia Partners, which is led by or co-founded by Nick Nash, also came on board, and now he's part of the official investors of Carsome. And I think that's how Endeavor has been helping, right? Not just on the point of guiding the company to scaling, but at the same time also brought in a lot of really like-minded people who could band together and build a strong company.
Yeah, no, I was certainly very impressed by what you told me. And then I realized that Gobi had, in addition to you, 3 other Gobi entrepreneurs are part of Endeavor. Again, so impressed with that connection. I'm getting involved now with Endeavor Malaysia as well. So So I think looking forward to that. As you look out now, obviously Carsome has done a great job of raising money, and COVID hit though, right? So walk us through the last year and a half. How did COVID affect Carsome? And, I think a lot of people, there are certain companies that were able to experience a V-shaped recovery. And I believe Carsome was one of them. Maybe can you walk us through that? What happened? And how did COVID kind of affect some of the key trends in your business?
So I think the V-shape came almost like after that, right? But going back to the early of the year, we came into 2020 with a really big ambition to 3x the company's growth, right? And we were executing all the plans that we have in the planning, and at the same time, by the time we hit March, we got closer to a lockdown, and that did happen during the mid-March. In Malaysia, firstly Malaysia, and then to Indonesia and Thailand as well. So these are all the countries that we're operating in. And I think that resulted into a really huge disruption towards our business operation, because you couldn't trade cars. Government don't allow that to happen on ownership transfer. And I think that hit us in many ways, right? And especially is unprecedented 100 years event. None of us actually know how to react to this, right? And I think that was actually very helpful, where Endeavor came in to help us in guiding us with some advices, some of the response plan, right, on how to approach the pandemic, given the advice that they have within the network. And I actually took some of the advices to see how we could turn things around. And I think the truth is, when the business has been positioned to really disrupt and change the experience of buying and selling cars, I think we found ourselves in a really nice spot, where at the same time we took the downtime, which is a lockdown, to look at how we should innovate our products, bring up the development speed of some of the product or new applications that we could go out post lockdown. And at the same time, we also took the time to set up a Carsome Academy to train and develop our internal workforce, because a lot of them, when you're running a business day to day, you don't have the luxury of training them, giving them classes, right? But that allowed us to do that. So I think all of this sort of gave us that synergy, and eventually, once lockdown is over, that helped us to regain our feet very quickly. We roll up all these applications from our car agent app, which is a partner application, inspection app, which is for our inspectors, and also for our enhanced auction dashboard for the dealers to purchase more cars digitally in a convenient way during a COVID times. So I think if you look at the result of that, is in Q3, we recover 100%. So we took 2 months. July, we recover 100%. And then in August, we exceeded pre-COVID level in terms of our sales volume. And by end of the year, we already double of what we have achieved on a monthly basis, right, compared to early of the year, pre-COVID level. So I think these results has been really tremendous. And I think that was a testament to what we were doing. And that also eventually helped us to secure a fundraising around our Series D with Asia partners, because they've been talking to us since the lockdown period, and they have seen how the companies sustained the impact, turned things around, and went on to higher ground, including the launch of B2C too. Yeah.
You made the decision so easy for Nick, and I think he got a great deal coming in. Eric, I kept telling you should have held out for a higher, but no, that's fine. No, but again, the trends coming out, everybody had some questions on COVID, but for Carsome to come out of that, not only weather the storm, but come out of it stronger, really, you made that decision quite easy, I think, for investors on the Series D, which is a real testament. But Eric, I think as you look ahead, with all the success that Carsome's achieving, you also will attract competitors. So, what keeps you up at night here, right? Eric, what keeps Eric Cheng awake? Are there competitors that you're concerned about? Is the disruptor concerned about being disrupted? Are there new technologies that you're worried about? What concerns you?
I think what concerns me more is not the competitors, but rather how to really keep the people within the team engaged, right? We have very clear goal, right? We set out and fight for 2020, and we got the result of almost going to 3x. And this year we have another goal that we have set for the year is to also 3x all the revenue that we have gotten in the year before. So I think what is more immediate challenge for us as a team and for myself, right, is how do we do that? How do we make sure that everyone in the team believe in the same thing and have the plan in place and execute and keep executing, right? So that has always been the things that kept me up at night. But I think more importantly, when you look at how everyone, other players coming into the scene and trying to bring innovation at the same time, right? It actually means that the industry itself has a lot of opportunity. We had a first mover advantage when it comes to doing this. You know, we started in 2015 and we've been believing the same thing, bringing that really good experience, the peace of mind to consumers. And we've been sticking to it and being able to build a really strong moat, right? Because with more transactions happening and by far we have been transacting the biggest volume within the region, that help us to up our game on the data analytics point of view from pricing to inspections or car condition data. So a lot of this help us to build really sophisticated data intelligence. At the same time, we have transactions happening from cities to city level. So which means at the same time, the supply and demand data within every city also help us to understand how do we sell a car a lot faster? How do we purchase a car a lot quicker and at the right price point?
Hey, so Eric, what's the outlook for 2021 for Carsome?
So we've gone through a really challenging year for 2020, right? Despite that, we're still able to grow from the pre-COVID level to 2 to 3x. So this year, our goal is to further go into capturing more market shares. If you look at where we are right now, we're at about 1.5% of the used car market in the region. And we want to further that and extend the leadership, capturing to 5 to 10%, because on the long term, or our midterm goal is to being able to establish ourselves to IPO path, which we're gunning it for in the next 2-3 years time in one of the major exchanges, hopefully like Nasdaq or London Exchange. So I think that is, where we are looking to bring the business forward. And in terms of the product offering, I have mentioned that we have a C2B business that help consumers to sell cars, and we're now also integrating the car buying experience, right, the B2C onto the platform. So we want to bring this to a lot more customers and expand this, right? So one of the things that we have in the plan right now is to deliver this experience by introducing a lot of brand positionings, campaigns to establish that narrative, right, that Carsome represent not just used cars, but a better car buying experience and selling experience. And that's what we're going to do for the next 9 to 12 months.
So Eric, you recently achieved a key milestone, which is Carsome sold its 100th vehicle, right? That was earlier in 2020. When do you think when are you going to double that, hit your 200th vehicle? Is that in the plans for 2021?
Yeah, I think it might happen actually, to be honest. So it might be the 200, and we have bigger goals. Internally, we have set to make it 100 million. A million. And yeah, and by then we make sure that we'll give a really interesting gift, right, for a million car buyer or seller.
You got to give out a used car for the 1 millionth buyer. Yeah.
Yes, and I'll drive the truck to his house, to his doorstep.
Hey, we're going to hold you to that, Eric. Absolutely. Eric, just to end, Eric Cheng in 2021 has gone through so much. If you could go back in time and meet Eric Cheng of 2015, what's the major piece of advice that you'd give yourself, knowing what you know now versus back then? I mean, if you could time travel, what would you whisper in Eric Cheng's ear of 2015?
Yeah, I think the first thing I would do is ask him to find Tom, from Gobi Partners, and tell him that by 2020 or 2021 you become $1 billion revenue company. But I think one thing that I hold it very truly is I felt that having a team, a strong team that can help you build a business, build a company, is extremely important. I have seen how great people came in and share the same chemistry, the same vision, and they can tremendously bring in just immediately a lot of value and inject it in a company. And I think at times we hesitated in bringing in people like that, of that caliber. And I think that is something that we should do since day one, like recruiting the best talent in their own domain, right? Respective domain, to help us to build a business, because we are an ambitious company. We want ambitious people in the company as well. And that help us if we have them much earlier.
What a great way to end this conference. So again, wise words from Eric, which is, if you want to be successful, you've got to surround yourself with the best people. So on that note, Eric, thank you so much, to join us today, along with our entire lineup of great speakers. What a great way to end. And again, special thanks to our co-partner on this session, which is Endeavor Malaysia. And with that, again, thank you to all of you who have stayed with us this whole day. And I hope to see everyone soon. Next year is actually Gobi's 20th anniversary. And I hope that we will meet each other and see each other, but in person. Hopefully COVID will have be managed, and we can all see each other in person at Gobi's 20th anniversary celebration and conference. Eric, of course, we would want you to be there as well. And we hope we can see many of you at our conference next year. And with that, thank you very much.